I give credit where credit's due, and anybody that hangs around the wood carving illustrated forum has probably came across a guy by the name of Mike Pounders. Lives somewhere down in the states. I'm not sure where. I think down in the southeast part, but it doesn't matter. Mike's a excellent carver and an even better painter. And he was he a few years ago he posted something. I can't even remember what it was, but it was a plaid shirt, and I just really, it was amazing. So anyway, I'm not a real bashful guy. I contacted him and said, "Hey, how about doing a tutorial?" And he did. And so anyway, I tried to follow it, and like I say, it was fairly in depth and stuff. And so I, I I've done what I think Mike was trying to tell me to do, but I'm sure it's not exactly as he done, and it's evolved over time because I've done quite a few of them. Most of my caricatures are hunting, fishing sort of characters, and even though I see you're wearing a plaid shirt tonight, they always wear a plaid shirt. So anyway, enough of the background. But the first thing that I do is I choose the colors that I'm going to use. Yeah. And here again, I'm not really much of a fashion guy, so sometimes my colors are not what everybody else would think. But it doesn't really matter. Uh, I use I try to have like two colors. I'll have in this case here I had two reddish colors and two light pale gray white colors, and so you get a dark red and a lighter red, a gray and a white in this particular example, and I mix it up in those little jars there. I got them. I think can't remember if I got them from the dollar store or from Amazon somewhere, but mix it up about 50-50. Uh, Consistency of maybe chocolate milk or something along that line. It wants to be pretty sloppy. And what I started in this case, I used it was a burgundy wine, which would be on the extreme left. The next one was a bright red, an Amish gray, and just a white. And as you can see, those are just, they're not fancy paints or anything, all from the dollar store. And mix them with water, 50-50. The next thing I do, and this is kind of contrary to what a lot of people with paint do, a lot of people will spray their black basswood and wet it and stuff, but you want your basswood dry. Don't don't put anything on it, no sealer, no nothing. Just carve it, sand it, do your burning, burn your highlights and stuff, and then mix your paints. And I usually start with the darkest color, in this case, the burgundy wine. And I think, yeah, if you go to the
Yeah,
next one.
Wayne, I was just going to ask the question about your notion about just putting it on the bare wood. I wonder if that's because if it was sealed, the line would be too defined rather than kind of diffuse like a flannel shirt would look.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Yeah.
but here again, we're talking about somebody else's style, and I've sort of adapted it. But yeah, I think that's the intent. Uh, but as you start crossing, you put your vertical lines first, and then the horizontal line of the same color. Uh, you want it to soak in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It just seems it gives the effect that you want where they cross. You're going to get a darker spot.
Right.
And
Right.
anyway,
Okay.
so uh, after I did this sample that's up here now, uh, probably not the greatest one in the world, but I did it a little bit bigger than I would normally do, and I also, like I say, my colors are probably not as complementary as they normally would be on one of the shirts. But I did it so it would show, I'm a half decent carver, a poor painter, and a lousy photographer. So I said I'll make it big enough so it shows up. The first thing I do in case of a shirt is I'll paint my vertical lines, just as you see them there, just and they're not even. But I think if you get them too perfect, they're not going to look right. Here again, my opinion for what it's worth. Paint the vertical lines and let it dry. And I'm going to harp on this because it has to be dry before you do the horizontal lines. If you don't, it doesn't seem to have the same effect. Um, I use a hair dryer, or else I wander off and do something else for a few minutes. But because the basswood is dry to start with, it doesn't really take all that long. So I paint the vertical lines first, then I paint the horizontal lines using the same color and make sure here, like I say, make sure it's dry. Uh, once I once I get that done, then I go over to in this case, this was the burgundy wine. Yeah, okay. Then I've gone with the bright red, and I work from left to right. I guess it's probably because I'm right-handed, and so I start on the left-hand side of the shirt. Usually I start on the back of the shirt between your shoulder blades or somewhere like that because it takes you a little while to get in the groove, and it's better to have the sloppy work on the back than on the front. So I work from left to right, and I make using my bright red. I make vertical lines just to the immediate right of the burgundy wine, and I do that all the way across. And here again, make sure it dries. Once it's dry, then I do the horizontal lines, and I usually start at the bottom and put it above the the previously burgundy wine line, and just keep going like that. Uh, it wouldn't matter if you started left or right, but whatever you start with, you've got to stick with from until you're done with all four colors. Uh, Here again, make sure it's dry, but you can see where they cross the each other that you're getting darker squares there. Okay, then we go. Well, next in the next one I went with this was the Amy's Gray. Here again, starting on the left side and immediately to the right of the burgundy uh, stripes. Anyway, keep working that way, and once that's dry, then we do the horizontal ones, doing the same thing above the burgundy wine and the bright red. And you can see the pattern is sort of developing. Uh, every time I do this, and I've done it a lot, and I just did one here just the other day. By the time I get to about the third color, which is this slide here, I'm thinking, oh gosh, this looks terrible. I'm never going to do this again. But I persisted, so I keep going. And you've got to get the fourth color on with the final coat before it really seems to fall in place. Now that's just my way of looking at it, but it seems to happen every time. So so I've got the Amish gray here done vertically, then horizontally, then we go to yes. And here again, normally I probably wouldn't have used a white. I used a I don't know, more of a beigey color or something, but I wanted something that was going to show the distinct four different colors. So and here again, just keep going to the right, let it dry, then start at the bottom and keep going up. Um, I've got that particular one here, and I don't know. Are
Yep,
you seeing my camera? Yeah.
yep, I
Okay.
can see it.
Uh, to me, it's actually this one is too big. This the square should have been smaller, but I didn't know how it was going to show up on the slides. So that's what I did. But I did a couple of others. I took another. I think we got this one, the next one down, I believe. Oh, okay, yes, right. And that one there, that is with after it was finished. I used that tried and true, as you can see that the basswood out around it is a little more tan colored or whatever. Uh, I'm not one that I don't buy my basswood from Heineke's there, even though it's the best. I'll guarantee you that. But it's also the most expensive. I buy locally, and that's the way it comes out. But I don't mind it. That well, somebody was talking earlier about their uh, Terra Nova oil and the other one there. This is tried and true. I get it from Lee Valley, and it's a Danish oil, and it's I like it. It's they warn you about combustion and stuff, but I take precautions. So that's what I that's what it looks like when I get it done. That's why that one is yellow.
I'm just gonna go back to the previous one, so again,
Yeah,
people would see the
yeah,
difference. So,
yeah.
you know,
That's
that's
what that's
the
plain
acrylic.
that's just plain basswood with nothing on it, just acrylic paint. Yeah. And there it is. There it is there. And if you look where the various colors cross, you can see the blending. And like I say, that's probably about the poorest example I could have given you. But, it should have been a little smaller squares and stuff. And I've done a couple more here that here again, hoping for effect to show, uh, but then maybe not the right colors for a shirt. But I wanted something that's going to contrast, and it's listed there: burgundy wine, coral rose, blue haven, driftwood, and then the other one is hunter green, sea spray, yellow ochre, and driftwood. But just to you know, just to show that it is. Um, this is a guy. I think I showed this one last week. Is he on there? Here again, I can't see.
Yep, he's up right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a that's a bright red and a Christmas red, I think, and two shades of gray. That guy is, and so it and a lot smaller squares. So that's one thing I note here too. When I'm painting a shirt or this shirt, uh, before I paint any of the Plaid, I usually paint his cuffs. If he's got his sleeves rolled up, I'll paint that with a wash of white. Probably not too obvious, but enough. And then when I paint my Plaid, I paint right over top of that, and it gives the appearance of like the inside of the flannel shirt. So that's the other thing I like to do. I like to leave his shirt tail hanging out. These guys don't dress up real good, so.
The other important thing I'm sure everybody recognizes that as his arm changes direction here, your lines change direction as well to follow them.
Yes, yeah, you do that there, and that's really the only place that you got to really pay attention to that. And the collar, I always make sure I got some of the collar done, and I don't know, it's a matter of preference. I've had people look at some of those carvings and grin from ear to ear. And the next guy will come along and look at it and say, what's that guy trying to act out? So it's a matter of personal choice.
Yeah.
But,
no, that's really good. That's just great. So I'm sure there's some questions for Wayne here.
I hope they're not too complicated.
Wayne, can you tell us about the brushes you use?
Yes, just as cheap as I can get. I buy most of my supplies for two reasons. I live in a very rural area, so I'm not blessed with Walmart and all the other places, but we do have a dollar store in the area. So yeah, I just get cheap brushes. Same way with the dollar paints, with the paints, dollar store paints. I'm sure if the dollar store was in existence when Michelangelo painted the Sistine Chapel, that's where he'd have shop too. But no, you got to have a fairly fine brush, but it doesn't have to be a high, $20 artist brush for sure. One other thing I'd like to show too here is on the on some of the Plaids. This is something I just knocked out this afternoon, just painted this afternoon. I do a lot of these little things. Anybody that's got friends or relatives in Newfoundland knows what a mummer is.
Mhm.
And anyway, I like the plaid is it, it doesn't have to be as fine and defined as the other one because I do a lot of those and that's only three colors. That one that's a green, an olive green, a dark green, and a rose color.